I think that in certain times of our lives, a lot of us may feel called to experience being in a new place, opening yourself up to a new environment, but doing it in a way where you're completely open to that environment and to the people there. And I think in order for you to do that, you often have to be by yourself. What's good, you guys? Welcome back to my channel. My hair looks crazy. Hold on. It is Wednesday. I just got done doing some work. I was editing. Thought I would sit down and chat with you guys about, because I've been getting literally so many questions. I thought I'd talk to you guys about how I got into solo traveling, how you yourself can get into it. Hold on, let me put this camera in a good place so you guys can see me. So if you guys already know, I'm in Thailand right now by myself. I've been solo traveling for, I want to say almost 60 days, which is crazy. So like almost 2 months now. I feel so at peace. I am so glad that I came out here. I don't think I even fully gave you guys like an update on what's been happening actually. I don't know which orders I'm posting my videos in, so I've been filming like so much. I just need to edit them and post them. I was traveling around Thailand for 1 month. I went to Japan for like 10 days, and then I actually came back to Thailand and I'm here for another month. But I'm actually in one city now. So like I'm in one Airbnb. I haven't been traveling around. I've just been focusing on like going to the gym, doing yoga, getting back into my routines, and going to the beach every day and literally just relaxing. So that's been my past month. And yeah, for me personally, I absolutely love solo travel. My first ever solo trip was actually to Lisbon, Portugal, which I've actually been seeing a lot of people say this on TikTok. Lisbon is a really good solo travel city. Like if you're looking for a good place to go to for your first ever solo trip, and if you're interested in going to Europe, I definitely recommend checking out Lisbon. I just think it's a really great city. I have a vlog of it actually on my channel. It's like one of my first ever travel vlogs, which is so crazy. It was like years ago. But yeah, I would think I was like 20 when I went there, and it was just like literally that trip sparked like the start of my spiritual journey. I just met the perfect people at the perfect time, had the perfect conversations. I feel like, I don't know how to explain it, but like, you know, like how we kind of go on throughout our lives for the most part, like being in like autopilot. So like we're like really stuck like in our egos. That trip was like when I kind of like snapped out of that like conditioning, I guess you could call it. And I started really just I was like, wait, what? Like, I think that trip, sorry, I have a really hard time explaining it, but that trip for me really felt like, oh, like everybody's talked about God, like in church. Like I grew up going to church, and you know, people have talked about God in like all these different ways. And I feel like I've never fully understood like, oh, God is in this moment right now. Like I've been searching for this thing, but it's like literally just like right here in front of me. Anyways, very crazy trip. I literally have a tattoo. Hold on, let me show you guys. I was having these like insane life-changing conversations with these people that I met in my hostel, and one of them was an artist, and he drew this while we were having the conversation, and it like represented the conversation that we were having. Like this is like yin and yang, and there's like a bunch of like little details in here that represent the conversation that we had. And I swear to God, that conversation was like when everything had hit me in terms of like my spiritual awakening and stuff. And I think some of the other people also got the same tattoo, but I don't know. I haven't seen them since I went, but like these people changed my life, and I had this crazy life-changing experience, and I wouldn't have had it if I was traveling with other people. So I'm saying all this to say that I highly recommend, if you're ever considering solo travel, just do it. Like step outside of your comfort zone and push yourself, because when you travel somewhere, there's a whole reality in which you can experience. But if you're always traveling with other people, you're closing yourself off from experiencing certain realities. And like granted, I love traveling with friends and family and stuff, but I'm just saying that like I think that in certain times of our lives, a lot of us may feel called to experience being in a new place, opening yourself up to a new environment, but doing it in a way where you're completely open to that environment and to the people there. And I think in order for you to do that, you often have to be by yourself. So that's personally why I really love solo travel. Again, I've just had so many amazing experiences. I've met so many amazing people who have like literally changed my life. I've had conversations that have changed my life. I've met other tourists, I've met locals, I've been more open to learning new things, like learning, you know, the language of the place that I'm in, or learning about the culture, or like learning new skills. Like I've been more open to learning things just because I'm able to experience things by myself and really be in a place to see the place and to see the, like, to talk to the people versus being there to like make memories with friends. And I feel like, again, I really, really love trips where I get to do that, but those are always very different trips. Like the vibes of those trips are very different. So for me, like what I would say is, with getting comfortable with solo travel, I'll get into logistics a little bit later, but just like in terms of like comfortability and stuff, like if you've never done it, I would say first look at yourself and really ask yourself, like, do you feel comfortable being by yourself? Like, do you already feel comfortable with like where you live right now? Do you already feel comfortable going off and doing things by yourself? Do you feel comfortable like going out to eat by yourself? If not, then I would say start practicing doing that first. Just like do simple things by yourself. If you find that you're the kind of person who feels like you need other people to be able to do things, then I think that that's something that you should maybe work on first before you work on traveling by yourself. But I will say, if you also really want to just step outside your comfort zone and say fuck it, then you can maybe travel by yourself to then push yourself to become the kind of person who can do things by themselves, right? So it's kind of just up to you. But I think at the end of the day, like, you're never going to be fully comfortable. Like, it's always going to be a little bit scary. Like, even, especially coming to Thailand, like that's a totally different part of the world. I've never been to Asia before I came to Thailand. It's still scary, you know what I mean? And this is like my third time. I think it's like my third time or maybe fourth time solo traveling. So I've solo traveled like quite a bit within the United States, but this is like my third time solo traveling abroad, I think. So anyways, I think the cool thing is that solo travel just pushes you to be okay with being a little bit uncomfortable. Like, that's to me what I value from it so much. So that's my advice. I just say just go for it. But if you do kind of like, again, just want to work your way up to feeling comfortable doing it, I say spend some time, like dedicate at least one day a week to doing something with yourself. Get cute, take yourself to dinner, take yourself to a park, go hiking. And then in terms of like actually planning a trip and like the logistics and getting there and all that stuff, I personally use Google Flights. That's just like my go-to. Like if I'm ever thinking about a city, like even just like off the cuff, I'll just plug it into Google Flights and just check it just to see like what the prices are. What I recommend also, if you've never done solo travel, is maybe go somewhere a little bit close to America in terms of like proximity, but also in terms of like culture. So obviously somewhere like Europe is pretty easy because the culture is going to be somewhat similar. Usually a lot of people are going to speak English. You're probably going to have an easier time just getting around, and you're not going to feel as challenged in terms of like the language barrier and I don't know, like just the culture being super different. Like for example, like when you go somewhere and you land, it's one thing for the language to be different when you're like looking at all the signs like in the airport and stuff. But when you're landing somewhere and like even the characters are different, like they don't use the alphabet that we're used to. And a lot of places like don't even have like English signs. Like that can be a lot more nerve-wracking, right? So I just say, in terms of feeling safe and just more at peace and like not as, especially if like you haven't traveled a lot. Also like Latin America I think is great. I really want to go to South America. I really want to go to Africa, obviously. So I would just say do your research, find a place that feels good to you, and it just depends on like on you and your personal experience and what languages blah blah blah. So that's one piece of advice. And then in terms of like safety, honestly, I just wasn't breaking out really bad and I chose to film today. I'm so sorry. Also, I don't really care. I'm about to start my period. But anyways, safety, for me personally, I have not had any issues. I have not had any crazy stories. And honestly, thank God for that, because when I was younger, y'all, like I remember when I was 20 and I went to Lisbon, I was doing the dumbest shit. Like I was like, younger me just had not that I didn't have common sense. Like I've always been somewhat street smart. I've grown up watching like SVU and CSI and murder whatever movies and shows and stuff. So I've always been like, good about and like just keeping like an eye peeled. But I also tend to be overly trusting with people. Like at least when I was younger, I would go out with people who I had just met like that day and like get drunk. And actually I still have done that. I did that in Japan. So I don't know why I'm acting like I've really matured, but I would say at the end of the day, like, okay, just know where you are at all times. Never give out your hotel information. In terms of social media, I just say just be safe. Like, don't post like a restaurant, like when you're at the restaurant, you know what I mean? I'm really, really good about keeping like my passport and everything, like my phone. Like I'm very, very, just because when I went to Europe, they pickpocket a lot. So I learned very quick, and I had a lot of people that I was hanging out with in Europe get their phones stolen. So I became very good about like whenever I'm literally anywhere, I think I probably do this even in America as well. Like I'm very good about like when I'm walking around with my bag, I pretty much have like my shoulder covering it, and like the front of my bag, like if it's like a shoulder bag, the front will be facing like outward. Like I make sure that it's like covered, it's zipped, but it's also like facing my front, so no one could just go up behind me and like snatch something out of my bag, you know what I mean? But again, just keep an eye peeled. Don't be too trusting of people like I tend to be. I think for me it helps because I don't really go out. Like I've gone out one time in the past 2 months that I've been traveling, and that night was a hot mess, and after that I'm like, I don't want to be going out after that because it was bad. Like that night was when I decided to give up drinking. So for me personally, I'm just in an era of my life where like I'm not in like that going out kind of mood. So it makes it a lot easier to feel safe, because the one time I did go out, I didn't feel safe. I was scared. Like I literally I smoked, like I was having such a good night, and as soon as I smoked, y'all, I kid you not, I was so paranoid. I looked around and I was like, these people are trying to kidnap me, like including the girl that I was with. It's actually like, I can't even talk about it because I get such bad anxiety about it. If you're ever planning to like smoke with other people or do any kind of, like I personally don't do any other kind of drugs, but if you plan to, or like, you know, psychedelics or whatever, just be careful and make sure that you know what you're doing, like know what you're taking. Personally, I'm just at a place where I probably just wouldn't do that because I've like learned my lesson. But if you do ever plan to do that, just like be careful and just like know where you are. That kind of leads me to my next thing though, which is like tips on like meeting people. I think it's just about being open. Like honestly, when your energy is like open to like literally just like when you're walking down the street, like smiling at people. If I'm at 7-Eleven or something and like I don't, if I see someone like drinking something on the street, I'm like, hey, like, where did you get that? Or whatever. Like, just kind of being open to having conversations, asking people questions, looking at people in the eyes versus like, there's times where like, I know I'm not in a social mood because I'm not even like in the mood of like looking at people in the eye because I'm just so like in my own world. I think when you have that energy about you, like people can feel it, but also like logistically, it also helps to do like tours. So like doing like going on tours that you like book like on Viator or something. When you're doing some kind of like group tour, like group activity, it just always makes it really easy to get to know people because you're talking about a common thing or like a shared thing that you're experiencing. And also doing hostels, so like staying in hostels. You can do like a dorm or you can do like a private room, which costs a little bit more. Staying in hostels or even just like going and visiting hostels when you're in a city can always help you meet people because typically people who are staying in hostels are solo travelers. So it makes it just super easy. I really like the Selena hostels personally. Like those are like my favorite. Like if I am in a city and there's a Selena there, I'll just stay at the Selena because they're a little bit like not like luxury hostels, but just like a little bit like higher in quality. It just kind of has like a group or like a crowd that I personally really like. It's like a little bit less like party college vibes than I would say like a lot of like typical hostels are. And they also do a really good job of like doing tours and like they organize group tours almost every single day. Most Selenas have like yoga and like I've done like a dance class and I think they do like cooking classes sometimes. I don't know. They have like a bunch of like different cool things usually at the locations. I would say if you're doing something a little bit more long term, so like over a week, then I recommend doing an Airbnb. That way you can like, you know, have a kitchen and get groceries and like properly, not trying to feel like a local, but like feeling like I'm actually like living in a place and like experiencing that reality for at least for even like a short period of time. Usually it's also a bit cheaper, I've noticed, to do like an Airbnb because you could do an Airbnb for like a month somewhere and you get like a significant, the longer you stay at an Airbnb, the more of a discount you get as well. So you can do like an Airbnb for a month and get like a huge discount on it. The one that I'm staying at is $1,000. I have a video where I break down how much like this Airbnb is and just the overall cost of different hotels and stuff that I've stayed at traveling over the past month. So I'll link that somewhere. But yeah, that's pretty much all my advice, you guys. Again, I just say if you're thinking about doing a solo trip and you've never done it, just do it. Like, just step outside your comfort zone. Just try it at least once. If you figure out and realize it's not for you, then fine. But again, I'm just telling you, whether you are introverted and you like doing more things by yourself, or you're extroverted and you really, really like being around people, you can benefit from it regardless. And I just love it because it just really helps you realize that like you don't have to wait on anyone to do anything. Like, you can really go off and do things yourself. I know that a lot of us like want to have like someone to travel the world with or see the world with, or have friends or family come with us, but I'm telling you, like, there's nothing more empowering than realizing that like you can go and see the world and you can go and do things on your own. There's just so much growth that comes out of it, no matter what your experience ends up looking like. And I think the more that you become comfortable with doing it, the more empowered you kind of become and kind of feel. So yeah, I could probably talk about this for literally hours. So I'm probably going to go ahead and close out the video here. I hope this was helpful in some way. Let me know in the comments down below what other questions you have. Also, let me know what countries, like what's a dream country that you would love to go to. I'm very curious to know. Like, I'm curious to know like what countries you guys are interested in seeing or traveling to. And yeah, I hope you guys are doing well. I hope you're having an amazing week. And yeah, I will see you in the next video. Bye. Make sure that you're subscribed if you're not already. I'm going to be traveling quite a bit this year. I've been making more plans, so there's going to be a lot more travel content coming. And yeah, I love you guys so much. I hope you're doing well. And yeah, I will see you in the next video. Bye. I want to thank Squarespace for sponsoring today's video. As you guys know, Squarespace is the one-stop shop for building an online presence. I use them myself for my website and I absolutely love them. They have flexible website templates, online store features that make it super easy to sell physical or digital products. And they even have analytics features that help you see where your site visitors and your sales are coming from. So you guys can head to squarespace.com for your free trial with them. And once you're ready to launch, use my link in the description box for 10% off your first purchase.